Right, welcome to my Mandalorian review. Sorry, this is the spoiler review of Mandalorian Episode 3 whilst I am sat in my car on a journey through England. Sorry, but I watched the episode and I wanted to get this review out ASAP for you guys. So it's not the same format. I can only apologise for that, basically. But this is a full spoiler review. First things first, I wanted to touch on the runtime, the length of the episode. They seem to be peaking now, all things considered, because there's like the intro parts and there's some other bits and pieces. It seems to sit about 30 minutes. If you take the average, it's about 30 minutes long, which is okay. I prefer longer, but that's a good thing because I really like the show. And this episode was no different. It was a really, really, really good episode. So let's run through exactly what happens. Well, we know Baby Yoda is a he. I know you can hear the feminist rage right now, but he is a he. It's confirmed. Mandalorian. Goddamn, that character can emote without even seeing his face. It is the best thing ever. You don't see his face, but you know more emotion that this character is portraying than Rey has ever done in all of those how many hours we've seen her on screen in those movies. So in terms of what happens, we open up with him obviously flying through space, a little bit more of a cutesy interaction with him and the Yodeling, the baby Yoda, and then he drops him off. So we get some more epic Werner Herzog, who is the menacing Imperial officer, I guess, Empire officer, and he was really, really cool. It's really, really good to see him. But then we also get some confirmation now exactly kind of what they were planning to do with it, because after he drops him off, he then goes to obviously cash in his Beskar steel. But in doing so, he's starting to kind of you get to grips with him feeling for this kid, and it's really, really touching. It's really, really nice. And I was a little bit worried midway through the episode that they wouldn't like pursue that, and that would be it. But obviously that's super dumb. Of course they were going to, because he keeps asking, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with the child? What are you going to do with this thing? And everyone's like, no, don't break the code. It's got nothing to do with you. You're going to forget this transaction ever took place. And he goes to obviously cash in his steel, takes it to the leader of the Mandalorians, presumably the leader. Anyway, it's the woman that bashes in the steel into armor. So the blacksmith. But because the culture of the Mandalorians is all about fighting and armor and all this kind of stuff, I presume she's the leader if she's the one that's hammering in the steel. And that introduces some really interesting elements. We get some more flashbacks, which I think is going to tie really, really heavily into this show, because I think that's the pivot point as to why the Mandalorian even cares about this kid at all. Because obviously, he's a foundling, he's got no family, he's seeing this little child here, he's like, I don't want another, you can't just keep doing this to children and stuff like that. And I think that's where the emotional kind of pull is coming from for this character, which makes a lot of sense, and I like it. So we got all of these flashbacks, and then a little bit more of an expansion of the Mandalore mythos. Probably not an expansion. Those more familiar with Star Wars than me will probably say, no, it's definitely not. But we learn about whistling birds. Interesting, isn't it? In space, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, they have birds, and they call them birds. Whistling birds is kind of like a mortar round, or some, I don't know. It's a type of ammunition that the Mandalorians have, which kind of just splits off and ricochets and kills lots of people. They're called whistling birds, which I thought was pretty cool. And then we also had a little bit more of the kind of noble aspect of the Mandalorians. So they were talking about, how what did you beat? How did you do it? And it's like, it was a mud horn. It's like, right, well, the mud horn will be your signet. And Mandalorian's like, no, because it wasn't an honourable kill. My enemy helped me. And then again, this is where we start to get the sort of emotional aspect and the honour aspect of these Mandalorian characters, because then the leader is like, well, why would an enemy help you? And he goes, well, he didn't know he was my enemy. And you're just like, well, yeah, of course he doesn't. He's a little baby. He's just trying to help you out. And then so he gets his new armor. I think they may have changed the helmet, but I don't know. I'd have to compare it side by side. But the armor looks sick. It looks really, really cool. And then he goes in to go get a new bounty. And you can see he's still asking about this kid. And from there, he's about to take off, about to go get his new bounty from Carl Weathers. Obviously, he's got the bounty puck and stuff. And he has a change of heart. And he's like, no, I tell you what, I'm going to go get this kid back. And you're like, yes. And I was sat here watching it, and I was like, yeah, fucking get him. And that's a sign that this show is so good, is that you're that emotionally invested. You're like, yeah, fuck him up. And it was so good. So he went off, really, really cool. It's sort of, not infrared, but heat signature view sort of thing through some weaponry of some sort. And he can tune in and listen to what they were saying. And Werner Herzog was like, no, just kill him, harvest what you need to, kill him and be done with it, because I can't guarantee your safety. So there's something definitely going on there. And I think the Mandalorians are sort of discussing about the Empire and stuff like that, like why are they here, what's going on, are they trying to rebuild the Empire, what the hell's happening here? So, and it is like a Kimnoan, whatever. So you do get this kind of feel of what's going on, and then the Mandalorian's like, no, I'm going to go in and I'm going to kill them all. And he does. And he doesn't kill the cloning scientist, not from what I could see. I'm watching it on my phone, so the screen was a little bit off in colour every so often. So I couldn't really see it. I don't think he killed him, but he did ask, what have you done to the kid? Because he was, sort of catatonic, I guess. And he's like, no, I saved him. I stopped him from killing him. He's just a kid. Please don't hurt him. So you can see that the scientist actually cares for the child to a certain degree. Obviously, still wants to experiment on him, but, to a certain degree he cares about him. But that's when they confirm the sex of the Yodeling, because he says, he's just a kid. Don't hurt him. So he is absolutely a male, if genders are even a thing for these creatures. But yeah, he is a male. And then the Mandalorian takes him, and he's going to go back to his ship. And then all of the bounty hunters show up with Carl Weathers, and it's this massive shootout. And it's so well shot. It's so well choreographed. This show has not had a bad episode yet. It is so very, very good. It's a return to form. This one was directed by Deborah Chow, who I think off the top of my head has something to do with the Birds of Prey movie, but I don't know that. I know the name from somewhere, so I need to look into where I know her name from. So don't quote me on that, but I know she's doing something big-ish, in the pipeline. But it was very, very well shot. The framing of certain characters in scenes was very, very good. The fight choreography was very, very good. And it's this massive showdown with the Mandalorian and all of these bounty hunters. There's a lot of them. He manages to kill a lot of them. And then he's cornered. You can see he's outnumbered. He's about to go down, and bang! All of the Mandalorians turn up, and they're like, they do look a bit stupid and a bit funny, but it was still pretty badass. They're all like floating through in their jetpacks, go boo 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 boo, trying to obviously kill all the bounty hunters. And they're like, no, go! And he's like, well, you have to relocate, the base camp. And it's like, yep, this is the way. And he's like, this is the way. And that's like the Mandalorian phrase that they've been saying in the episode. It was really, really good. I have no qualms about just loving this show right now. It's so good. It's return to form for Star Wars. Yeah, this needs to be what the show is, basically. What the movies are, basically. This show is epic. And outside of that, really, there's not too much else to touch on. Like, there was nothing bad about it specifically. Even the effects looked a bit better in this episode. Again, I don't know if that is actually the case, but they looked a bit better in this episode. And that was one of my gripes of the first one, is that the effects just looked a little bit off. But it wasn't even a gripe, because I turned around and said, well, actually, I don't even care that the effects are not particularly great, because I'm that invested. But I would say, yeah, I'm mega invested. Out of them all, this is like a near perfect episode. It was so good. Highly recommend. If you haven't seen it, you need to. I did say at the start this was a spoiler review, so I don't want to have complaints about spoilers and all that kind of crap. But if you've seen it, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. I would love to hear it. As you can see, we've got like some subscribe buttons here and probably in my face and all the other videos and stuff like that. So stay tuned for more. I'm sorry that this is a little bit of a weird take. I am driving at the moment, so I am en route. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. If you're new here, hit subscribe, give this video a like and a share. I've missed H. Take care.